Anyways, enough about those fucking people. We talked it into the abyss. Let's try to learn something new. This video looks very, very interesting.
Rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Exactly how difficult is that? Well, according to a subscriber of mine who claims to be a physics grad student, a rich man such as Peter Thiel, who is much smaller than a camel, could be forced through the eye of a needle in one long strand of billionaire pasta with the force of a 600-ton press. The extrusion would take about 3.5 hours, but I mean, that sure beats an eternity in hell, right? Now that is some evocative imagery. Good job, Bible guys. Of course, skepticism about the morality of the wealthy is not exclusive to the Jewish and Christian traditions. Religious texts from Hinduism, Islam, and Buddhism all variously condemn the pursuit or hoarding of extreme wealth. It's convenient then that plenty of rich people who claim to be religious...
Okay, this is for obvious reasons. You cannot follow you cannot follow all of the commandments of almost every mainstream religion if you have a shit ton of money. At some point, a certain level of wealth is only achievable through the bypassing or going into direct contradiction to most of the established, conditions of what allows you to be an ethical Christian, Muslim, etc., etc. So de facto, super rich people, just by the virtue of existing with such lavish wealth, of hoarding such lavish wealth, implies that they went against one of those key commandments. So therefore, what the hell? That's why this video is interesting. Like, I want to see, let's try and get into the brains of billionaires that call themselves Christian. Is it just a LARP? Is it just a form of identity that they don't really practice? Is it a means for them to identify with something that is not just very rich guy or girl? Let's see.
Seem to have specific amnesia about their potential eternal damnation. Maybe it's just a lack of reading comprehension?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
Even to cite a verse that you like?
No, I don't want to do that.
So today, I want to look at 5 disgustingly wealthy dudes who claim that religion is important to them and examine how they reconcile their sprawling empires with their humble spirituality. Let's start with venture capitalist and
this video is going to be fun.
co-founder of PayPal and Palantir, Peter Thiel, who regularly references his Christian faith. Like most things about him, however, his religious views are unusual. Raised evangelical, Thiel calls himself
Thiel, for example, I can immediately tell you, is a pure pragmatist who understands that the pursuit of violent capitalism, also known as fascism, is the only means through which he can protect his immense wealth and protect the capitalist status quo, which made him one of the wealthiest people to probably ever exist and one of the most influential people to probably ever exist. And therefore, understanding that he cannot use the racial classification as easily as he would probably want to, the way the Nazis and the fascists did, the Italian fascists did. He is, looking for another broad enough but tight enough category to unify his base that he probably considers troglodyte imbeciles around, and that is the Christian identity in the United States of America. So let's see, maybe I'm missing something, but that's my take on Thiel. Thiel is a immense capitalist pragmatist that just, has properly looked at the situation, was like, okay, what new identity, like we need a particular in-group and out-group to unify for and unify against. If we want to push fascist rhetoric, let's just go with Christian.
Heterodox Protestant, and says Christianity is central to his worldview. In fact, Thiel can, to some extent, be credited with the recent wave of religiosity sweeping across Silicon Valley. Some of his converts are likely being performative, though. One entrepreneur told Vanity Fair, "I guarantee you there are people leveraging Christianity to get closer to Peter Thiel." Thiel's Christianity is rooted in his mentorship under thinker René Girard, who posed mimetic theory. The gist is that human beings are inherently imitative of one another, which leads to people sharing the same desires and thus experiencing rivalry.
Yeah, in Marxism, we just call that material conditions. Your conditions inspire who you are going to be. Material conditions are not only how much money you have, how big of a roof over your head you have, or how industrially developed the country you are in is going to be like, but also the cultural underpinnings of the particular place you grew up in and how that influences who you're going to be. So that bounces in between us. Just Marxists have a much better understanding of the topic than fucking genetic mechanisms, Jesus Christ, because they understand that the material conditions are the finance, money, resources, let's just call them resources, are the bedrock out of which all of these different bouncing identities are sprung out of. Mimetic mechanism is just like just society the way it is just like spawned into existence, like it just is, and then we just copy each other and we become similar to each other because we just bounce the ideas off of it. But it completely ignores like why are these the currently present ideas, ideologies, cultural belief systems, blah 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 in a particular society. Well, for these guys, it just like they don't address it. It just is there. Well, a Marxist explains, through class dynamics and a lot of other stuff, why those ideas are the ones in the rooster of on the character creation screen in the first place. Yeah.
Which leads to violence. When that violence becomes difficult to control, society looks to pin its cause on...
It can't explain the change from feudalism to capitalism. It literally can't explain revolution. Yeah, absolutely. Like this would not be able to explain revolution, because if everything we do is basically copy each other's behavior patterns and desires and visions of morality and the world, etc., why then throughout history did we say, everything we're doing right now makes no fucking sense, and then we changed it?
A scapegoat, usually an already unpopular group of people or person. The scapegoat is then blamed for all the violence and evil. You would think this idea, along with the fact that Thiel is openly gay, would help him realize that trans people are being used as a scapegoat in American politics right now. But I guess that's too hard to see from up on stage at the Republican National Convention. Thiel applies Girard's theory to his view of Christianity. His thinking is that Christ, the ultimate scapegoat, was completely innocent. Thus, his crucifixion reveals the fundamental lie of the scapegoat. He also uses Girard's logic to various political ends. For example, he's posited that the unavoidable nature of mimetic violence requires the West to take aggressive, preemptive action, particularly in the wake of 9/11.
Bro, he just gave for the fashion? No, even if he's really, really gay. Like, Adolf Hitler was like 6'4", blonde, muscular men need to inherit the world, while being a one testicle, junky, short, chubby, micro penis motherfucker. Like, the Führer can shoot gay people while being gay. There is don't try to find the lack of hypocrisy or steady logic in the minds of fascist agitators, right? Like it doesn't have to be any. That's why it's so powerful. I can invent whatever I fucking want to invent as the underpinning of my fascist belief system. It's IRL D&D. The amount of substances they were pumping into that man was absolutely astounding. Yeah. If we believe in reincarnation, maybe Adolf Hitler was reborn, and maybe he was reborn in Berlin. But somebody that loves fucking drugs so much is Adolf Hitler. Material conditions, I believe, to such an extent that yes, if Adolf Hitler lived in different material conditions in a different fucking place, he would not become a Nazi, right? Like, Adolf Hitler is not Nazi, like, just, the baby, etc., etc. The joke, would you kill Adolf Hitler as a baby? No, I would fucking nurse him and make him into a chill dude that hangs out with motherfuckers, right? So, but my allegory was different. It was, Adolf Hitler is now at Kit Kat Club. Like, the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler and his, genetic, for example, propensity towards doing a lot of fucking meth, just now has him like sucking dicks in like an orgy rave club in Berlin, living his best life, right? The clubbing scene has saved us from the second coming of the Führer.
Seems like convenient thinking for someone whose company goes around inking gargantuan contracts with the American military. Of course, you couldn't be a religious Silicon Valley billionaire and not apply your views to technology as well. Thiel often infuses his Christian values with a strain of techno-utopianism. He says that Christianity and tech are inherently aligned because both are rooted in the idea that every moment in history happens only once, that there's a definite progress to history.
What?
Okay, because
Fake deep as fuck.
of that, he
And also linking something to tech is like I'm linking something to the automobile industry. I'm linking something to hammers. There's a direct connection between the mining industry and Christianity, because the mining industry gives energy to the society the way Christianity gave energy to Christian societies to push them forward. Can I have $1 billion now, please? The king of fake deep. But that's always the point. You can make fictitious fucking metaphysical connections between everything. That is why materialism is so powerful. I am never undermining the power, and I find it exceptionally fascinating. I'm talking about metaphysics and so on, but it's big L. Carpentry is the real industry of Christianity. When Henry Ford created the first car, he is connected to the assassination of JFK. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Henry Ford was planning to. Henry Ford caused the tank man from Tiananmen Square, don't you know? Because he invented car, and because car we have tank. Because with tank we have video of Tank Man.
writes, science and technology are natural allies.
Henry Ford is the Chinese Communist Party.
To Judeo-Western traditions. Innovation through technology, he argues, is spiritually endowed because God works through us in building the kingdom of heaven today, here on earth. Viewed this way, founders such as Thiel are innovating humanity's divine progress, while just so happening to make loads of money doing it. Again, super convenient.
And also it implies that people from non-Christian traditions, even today, are less likely to create technological upheaval. What?
On an even less cheerful
It's
note,
like reading a fucking toddler's squibbles.
he's also obsessed with the Antichrist. After watching Thiel give
Because he needs to define somebody as the Antichrist, and we all know who that's going to be. Non-Christians. Let's fucking go. Give the Christians a bunch of guns, shoot and make them feel really good about shooting the non-Christians. It's fucking based.
4 lectures on the subject at
What do you think about the idea that Trump might be a botched clone of Adolf Hitler? Holy shit. He was born within a year of Adolf's death, and we know the Nazis had a ball harvesting squad like Israel does. Maybe they saved the Führer's nuts, and with some GMO in the cloning process, gave him the blonde hair and blue eyes he wanted. It's not a bad one, but I subscribe to the Melania argument more. Melania was one of the brightest spies of Yugoslavia, sent to the United States to integrate herself with the American capitalist elite. We used very special technology where she would forget that she is a spy unless a particular phrase is whispered in her ear. And to this day, she has done such a good job that she is now in the White House. She has also produced the future Slavo-American Ubermensch that is going to one day become the Emperor of the United States, the tallest man in America, the great emperor, heir, as we know. And we're just waiting for somebody from the old high communist class elites of Yugoslavia to go and whisper it to her. That was the problem. We failed because Yugoslavia collapsed before Melania could actually become the integrated shadow ruler of America. So the Baron is going to have to wait. There you go. if you want to compete when it comes to random ass conspiracies, I always win. So this is your fault. Yeah, it is. We fucked up. Yugoslavia fell apart. And now we have, one of the most brilliant, most beautiful, and most courageous women on the planet stuck with Trump without even knowing why she has this incredible skill set. Somebody just needs to whisper the correct words, but we don't know what the words are. So there's a secret plan by post-Yugoslav paramilitaries that have been operating in the shadows since Yugoslavia fell apart, with the idea of bringing Yugoslavia back, that plan on kidnapping Melania Trump and then just saying every word that has ever been said to her through algorithms and speakers, so that eventually she hears the right one, and then she will be sent back to the White House to do her job. Работаем.
At Oxford, during which audience members were...
Who says no one has whispered them yet? Maybe someone has. Maybe she's playing it long term. I don't know. Let's see.
Not allowed to take notes. One viewer said...
The words are Joe Biden 9/11. Wake up.
He really and truly does believe that we are likely living in the time of the Antichrist, and that we had all better take this seriously. And how Thiel envisions the Antichrist is characteristically strange. In an interview with the New York Times, he
Thank you very much, pandas.
explained that while many people point to technological threats like AI or climate change or bioweapons as the biggest existential threats to civilization, Thiel believes it's actually the opposite. He claims that people who oppose this technological progress are the real problem. People warning about the dangers of, say, AI, Thiel says, are in fact stoking fear in hopes of establishing a totalitarian one-world government. This is sounding uncomfortably familiar as someone who grew up in a fundamentalist household that believed that satanic communists ruled the world. Check out my last video on that. Oof. He says the way the Antichrist would take over the world is you talk about
Hey guys, I have this one thing that I make a lot of money off of. That's the correct one. If you don't agree, you are supporting the Antichrist and authoritarianism.
Armageddon nonstop.
Can I have money now, please?
You talk about
Unironically, Peter Thiel.
existential risk nonstop, and this is what you need to regulate. As anyone even slightly familiar with Thiel probably knows, the guy famously opposes nearly all forms of government regulation. Thiel says that the real Antichrist today isn't the scientist, tech bro, or politician unleashing technology they can't control. Rather, it's someone like Greta Thunberg. Seriously, people who pursue anti-growth, pro-environment agendas are actually the Antichrist, he thinks. Here, he's effectively weaponizing Christian theology to suggest that his political enemies aren't merely wrong, they're a threat to civilization. Post-production Drew here, so in editing this video, my co-producer Eric discovered that, ironically, there are some Christians who think that Peter Thiel himself is the Antichrist. It's almost like this is a ridiculous and conspiratorial concept so abstract that it can be used to smear anyone as an ultimate evil, and that biblical prophecy should not be interpreted as predictive of future events in the first place. You could make the case, though, that since Christ commanded his followers to welcome and love immigrants, and Peter Thiel's company Palantir helps ICE spy on and kidnap people to the tune of a $30 million contract, he might reasonably be called the Antichrist or an Antichrist figure. That would be fair. And would you look at that? Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller owns hundreds of thousands of dollars in Palantir stock, which is very convenient given that their stock has blown up as they've secured work with ICE and the State of Israel. What an act of divine providence for Stephen. Most of the 28 sources reporting on this lean left and tend to emphasize that Stephen Miller's investments benefit from deportations, while sources on the Democrats who, if you really think about it, that one answer or every day concerned about the future of civilization, Elon Musk has his own peculiar relationship to religion. A longtime atheist, he only recently declared himself, much like enemy of the channel Richard Dawkins, a cultural Christian who lives by the religion's values, minus the whole faith and devotion.
Yeah, this is just calling yourself white without calling yourself white. Cultural Christian, just you're trying to tell people that you really, really identify with so-called Western values that are underpinned by something more metaphysical than simply migrating to the West and living there for generations and generations. You have to truly come from there. You have to truly come from the Christian tradition, Western tradition, which is inherently superior to all others and inherently racialized in this category. Thank you, Therkas, for doing that. Thank you very much.
Part. He argues that his conversion was an
Every time you hear somebody say that they're a cultural Christian, they're just basically doing racial theory indirectly.
existential matter.
And they don't want to be hypocritical because they've defined themselves as a fucking atheist for so long. And this will usually be swallowed like, I don't know, a liter of jizz, as it always is, by right-wing talking heads that pretend to be very religious and yet simply use it as an underpinning divisive identity. Because they don't really care about their belief system. They don't really care about the religion that they LARP that they subscribe to. They care about, Western supremacy and all the other interesting categories.
Because
my reaction to cultural Christians, oh, you're a racist, pretty much.
in his view, a culture without religion is a culture in decline. In practice, Musk's posturing leads to some pretty stark contradictions. For example, he's declared that the teachings of Jesus are good and wise, and yet he told Joe Rogan that the so-called empathy bug could cause the downfall of Western civilization.
That moment when Jesus Christ is too left-wing, under modern context, of course, than people who believe in a religious doctrine that has Christ's name in it. Isn't that incredible?
I feel like he thinks that everything that he has a problem with is going to cause the downfall of Western civilization. So, it seems like he hasn't exactly internalized the goodness or wisdom of the whole love thy neighbor and welcome the stranger bits of Jesus' teachings. Also, one has to assume
But that's the strength and the horrifying evil of reactionary politics. You can take from whatever ancient tradition or wisdom or ideology or school of thought only parts that you fuck with and just completely ignore all the other ones.
that the world's richest man has never pictured a camel trying to fit through the eye of a needle. Although, if he'd like a demonstration, he can definitely afford the 600-ton press necessary. Elon, if you're watching, I know you don't like Sam Altman very much. I think we'd be okay with, using him for that demonstration if you want to set this up.
Holy shit. Political violin. Much. Did somebody call the base department Genetically Modified Skeptic? Okay. Is slash hour? Is this slash hour guy slash what?
I'd be happy to facilitate. I'll be the announcer for the event. How about that? Musk doesn't seem particularly compelled by other traditional Christian values either, like caring for the poor and needy, as evidenced by the many cruel budget cuts he made while running the Department of Government Efficiency. For example, Musk dismantled USAID, a foreign aid program that fought poverty and disease in developing countries.
More complicated than that, my friend, but your intention is correct, so we'll be deaf. You don't always have to be annoying, chat, right? We all want to scream shit now. It's just look at the intent.
A move that is
The intent.
expected to cause hundreds of thousands of avoidable deaths. And let's not even speculate about how he can square away Christian family values with his own reproductive pattern of having tons of babies with lots of women and then trying to worm his way out of paying child support. Yeah, it's looking more and more like this cultural Christianity of his is all convenience and no conviction. Remember when he tweeted that atheism...
But not only that, it's the active development of a particular identity category in the United States of America, which the reactionaries plan as utilizing for their main in-group, out-group categories of, who the Ubermenschen are, who the subhumans are, who deserves to inherit America, who doesn't, who is causing all your suffering and who needs to die, etc., in the coming decades and decades and decades. They're basically developing the definition of an Aryan. Okay, do I have to simplify it that much? Right? What the fuck is a Nordic? What the fuck is an Aryan? What the fuck is a... I don't know. What all the other Hitlerite fucking definitions, right? back before they were defined, everybody was like, this makes no sense. What the fuck? Like this, but this does include this. But what the fuck are you talking, right? But now everybody knows what, an Aryan is supposed to be. Well, culturally Christian or Christian civilization or defending Christian America, after being put into praxis by violent defenders of the capitalist status quo, will, through experience, let's call it, define itself as what it needs to be in order for their movement to come to power.
Left an empty space. Secular religion took its place. Maybe religion's not so bad to keep you from being sad. With this, he basically took the famous quote by Karl Marx that religion is the opium of the masses and reframed it as a positive. If adopting religion can make you happier, it must be a good thing. In which case, I'm starting a new religion that mandates rollerblading. This is the way we save humanity, folks. Bow down and lick a new kind of boob. Happiness isn't the only thing at stake for Musk, though. In claiming Christianity, Musk likely thinks he can endear himself to his political allies. Religion serves as a convenient tool in advocating for his moral and political project of promoting social conservatism, especially his pet case of protecting traditional ideals of gender and masculinity. By embracing the religious right and using Doge to further the goals of Project 2025, Musk signals that he's at least comfortable with a vision of Christian American theocracy. Finally, Musk has weaponized Christianity in his fight against what he calls the greatest threat to civilization, the birth rate decline in Western nations. Musk argues that when a culture loses its religion, it starts to become anti-natalist and decline in numbers and potentially disappear. So for Musk, Christianity is valuable because it encourages procreation.
It's valuable because it makes you different to the atheist, it makes you different to the Muslim, it makes you different to the Hindu. It makes you different to the leftist, it makes you different to the brown. It makes you different to the black. But you don't have to say it out loud, all that I just said. That's the fucking utility. That's the bastardization of sometimes very beautiful identities by fascists as a means of division. Being German, pretty chill. Oh, you like wursts and you burn really easily in the sun. Sure, let's all be like, chill. Oh, yeah, Germany, nice. We do the little dances. We wear the little fucking uniforms. We yodelly, 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 yodelly. Fucking great stuff. But then you're like, but that motherfucker doesn't yodelly, yodelly. How about we send them to the showers? Okay, you see, all of you know this at this point. I should stop repeating myself. Thank you, RevChem Redux. RevChem Redux. Thank you very much for paying your taxes and putting us at 2,100. Thank you very much, chat. We are getting closer and closer to that recording equipment for China. Yeah, I can watch Yugo on my day off. Runtime 3 hours, 15 minutes. Yeah.
In traditional family structures.
Welcome, Argonian Bum. Everybody, Argonian Bum also streams. Check him out. Give him a follow.
Except for him, I guess. Once again, faith is little more than a rhetorical tool that Musk can employ when it fits his political purposes and ignore when it compels him to change anything Jesus wouldn't like about his lifestyle. In contrast to Musk's apparent insincerity, Hobby Lobby founder and lifelong evangelical David Green does seem to take his faith quite seriously. As the son of a minister with strong family roots in missionary work, a young David Green was initially expected to pursue a religious vocation. Eventually, though, he realized that entrepreneurship totally counted as a holy calling. He says, "I think we all can, no matter where we are, be anointed. I sense God's anointing on my life as a businessman."
Here, for example, we have a different case. At least, that's the vibes I'm going off immediately. Like, this was a man with a strong religious belief. So strong that he wanted to, dedicate his life to preaching. But he started making a lot of money, right? And that contradicted, right? That started to contradict with his faith that he might actually subscribe to. So what do? You got to gaslight yourself into making those two things work, right? I'll use an unhinged. I'll use an unhinged allegory here, like a black dude that meets a super racist white woman, right? Super racist white woman, but she's super hot. So he's like, fuck, she's racist. She's an absolute piece of shit. She fucking hates me for existing. But for some reason, she's dating me. And she's dating me only for like the most racist fucking weird fetishization reasons. But, I'm having sex with a hot woman, right? So I gotta lie to myself on why the fuck I'm doing this. And then he lies to himself like, as a black person, like fucking this bitch, blah, 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 uses misogyny or whatever. I'm actually not a hypocrite. I'm not a hypocrite. This is the same thing. Oh, Christianity tells me that accruing this much wealth, exploiting these many employees. Oh, I'm a hypocrite? No, I'm not, because actually I'm doing a Christian thing by doing this. Stuff like that. Like, I don't fucking know.
Of course you
People try to find the craziest excuses for abandoning their principles is what I'm fucking saying.
do, buddy. On top of that, Green views his success and accumulation of vast wealth as gifts that came directly from God, saying that if you have anything, or if I have anything, it's because it's been given to us by our Creator.
Also, that allegory was absolutely fucking stupid. I don't know where I was going with that metaphor.
Green views his entrepreneurial work as similarly divinely approved, saying, God was the true owner of my business. He claims his work as CEO wasn't motivated by self-interest.
You can compartmentalize it, and it's and when it's religious, it's easier to fit into the narrative-based logic. Absolutely.
But by the call to serve his customers and employees just as a minister serves their congregation. To that end, Green keeps 4 chaplains on the payroll and sometimes provides on-site employee health clinics, but don't you dare go there looking for any contraceptives. As you may recall, Hobby Lobby famously fought a long legal battle over Obamacare, eventually winning the right to deny Green's workers insurance coverage for contraceptives on the grounds of his religious beliefs. Green's other acts
Jesus Christ.
Of service
Pun intended.
have included discriminating against disabled and LGBTQ employees. During the coronavirus outbreak, as most retailers shuddered to keep employees and customers safe, Green claimed that his wife received a message from God.
God was like, yo, you gotta make that bank. You gotta make that bank. COVID is fucking Satan.
Ordering him to keep his stores open. In contrast, allowing his workers sick leave was apparently not a divine obligation. Like many people reconciling religion with their riches, Green justifies his wealth via philanthropy and plans to give away 90% of his wealth to charitable causes when he dies. You may have heard that he already did this back in 2022, but if you read articles like this carefully, you'll see that Green and his family still possess his wealth.
I'm not doing this for the money. When I die, I'm gonna give away the money after I can't actually use it anymore, which implies that I really care about the money, because if I didn't, I would give it away while I'm alive. Yeah, I'm very smart. This is not hypocritical.
Wealth, it's just been moved into a trust that they control. Importantly, his view of charity distinguishes between mere good.
I went to in Hobby Lobby. I saw in the States there was. I even posted it, I think, on Instagram. Yeah, it was a gun covered in an American flag. That at the end of the flag became a spatula for barbecue. That was the most American thing I've ever seen. It was kind of low-key cool, I have to say.
Good causes,
But it was made in China. That was the funniest thing.
such as curing disease and fighting hunger, and great causes, such as spreading the biblical word. He explains the rationale as such. If I die without food, or without eternal salvation, I want to die without food. If you ask me, his charitable preferences feel largely informed by his ego, as he's also said, I believe once someone knows Christ as their personal savior, I've affected eternity. I matter 10 billion years from now. In pursuit of that ambitious legacy, Green has used his massive wealth to fund several missionary organizations, resulting in a total of 1.4 billion copies of gospel literature being distributed in 100 countries, with an emphasis on distributing materials targeted to children ages 4 to 14. My fellow evangelicals are picking up the specific evangelical brand of predation with the whole 4 to 14 window emphasis there. One of Green's pet causes, Every Home for Christ, goes door to door with Bible booklets in the poorest countries on Earth, mostly in Africa and Asia. Incidentally, Africa and Asia are currently the two continents most affected by the global water crisis, a cause Green does not seem to find as compelling as pamphleting. Most of the missionary work funded by Green takes place in countries with painful histories of colonialism, a history only further invoked by his well-funded proselytizing there. Green's attempt to justify his massive acquisition...
Dude, it's like Mother Teresa shit. It's fucking classic Mother Teresa shit. If you don't know what classic Mother Teresa shit is, it's... you tell a bunch of good people, yo, give me money, I must save some people that are starving and dying of disease. And they're like, oh, please, lady, go save them. Here's all my money. Here's all my subscriptions, all my gift subs. And then you go and you open a bunch of churches, but in the churches there's no doctors or very little doctors. And you just pray over the dying people. You just pray over the dying people. And you convert them to Christianity before they die. She was also Albanian. I am very petty. I am not a good person. I've never said that I am a good person, though. I've never said that I'm a good person. Mother Teresa was alive. She'd be a streamer. Speaking of which, thank you to everyone who followed. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. Thank you to everyone who paid their taxes. Thank you to the Oilers. Without you guys and the subscribers, this would not be possible. If you're here and you haven't followed, fucking click follow right now. I'm going to go eat. Today was a great stream, but I think we covered everything pretty well. And if we stay, it's just going to be watered down bullshit. Next week, I'm definitely doing a gaming stream. I want to play some fucking games with you cunts. It's going to be fantastic. Today's stream was very fun. We got a lot of new people in here. Very proud. Yeah. I'm going to send you over to the Turk now. So to offset my Albania comment, go to the fucking Turk. Say hi to the Turk. Make yourself very loud. Spam the shit so that their bigger community knows that we might be smaller, but we are louder. And remember the 4th of November. No, I love you guys. See you next week. Check the fucking... the Discord. Join the Discord. If you want to see next week's schedule, I'm going to stream 4 days next week, unless I got to go check wedding venues. Fuck my life. So yeah, most of your subscription money probably going to go to a fucking wedding, which I look forward to. So go, have fun, much love, and spam that shit. Thank you for everything that you do for me, guys. Long live Albania. Bye-bye.
On Tuesday morning, it had just turned 8:45. The worker bees of Marsh McLennan were in the hive. Another day of making profits and profits. That was before Mohammed burst right into the office. He had a Boeing 767 and all the passengers of AA-11. Do you remember? Don't you forget it. It was September. It was 9/11. It was 9/11, baby.